Deep in the heart of Guanajuato, Mexico, there's this tiny, almost hidden alleyway, but it holds one of the country's biggest and most tragic love stories. We're talking about the Callejón del Beso, the Alley of the Kiss.
So get this, 68 centimeters. That's it. We're talking a little over 2 feet. That's the exact gap between 2 balconies in this alley. It seems impossibly small, right? But that tiny space, that's the whole reason this legend exists. It's the stage for a story of forbidden love that people are still talking about centuries later.
And that's the promise, the big draw. A single kiss here can supposedly bring you 7 years of happiness. But is it for real? Is this just a tourist trap, a gimmick? Or is there something deeper going on? Well, that's what we're here to find out. We're going to unpack the legend, the reality of visiting today, and what this whole ritual really means.
Okay, so first things first, it really all boils down to a very simple promise, and it's that one promise that brings thousands and thousands of people from all over the globe to this one tiny spot.
The tradition itself is pretty straightforward. You'll see couples lining up, looking for the third step. You can usually spot it. It's often marked with some faded red paint. You stand there, you share a kiss, and boom, 7 years of happiness. That's the deal. But there's a little warning that comes with it. Local lore says if you get it wrong, if you kiss on any other step, you might just get 7 years of bad luck instead. So, no pressure. But you gotta wonder, right? Why this alley? Out of all the places in the world, why here? And why a kiss? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we have to dive into the tragic legend that started it all. Okay, so the story is this classic, almost Shakespearean tale of star-crossed lovers. You've got Carmen, who comes from a rich, powerful family with a super controlling father. And then there's Luis, a poor, humble miner. Of course, they fall madly in love, and of course her father is absolutely furious and forbids them from ever seeing each other again. But Luis, he's clever. He comes up with this incredible plan. He scrapes together everything he has and buys the little house directly across the alley from hers. Why? Because the balconies are so close, just those 68 centimeters apart, that they could reach out and continue their romance in secret. Yeah, as you can probably guess, that secret didn't last long. The story goes that her father caught them kissing across the balconies. He gave her one final terrifying warning. But the very next night, he found them together again. And this time, he was just blinded by rage. He grabbed a dagger, stormed into a room. So you might be thinking, is this a true story? Did Carmen and Luis really exist? And the honest answer is, we don't know. There's no real historical proof. But in a way, that almost doesn't matter. What's important here is the story's emotional truth. It perfectly taps into the very real social conflicts of 18th century Guanajuato. The class divides, the arranged marriages, and that spirit of defiance against it all. So that's the tragic legend. But how in the world did this little alley, the site of a local tragedy, become a massive global tourist attraction?
Well, it definitely didn't happen overnight. It was more like a slow burn. First, in 1988, Guanajuato became a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which put it on the international map. Then, fast forward to the 2000s, Mexico started this big push for cultural tourism, and travel bloggers and writers stumbled upon this amazing story. But the real game changer? Instagram. The rise of social media in the 2010s poured gasoline on the fire. It turned this sweet, local ritual into a viral, shareable, you-have-to-get-this-picture moment. And that right there is the secret to its success. It's all about participation. Think about it. Most landmarks are things you just see. You look at a statue, you take a picture of a building, but the Alley of the Kiss asks you to do something. You become an active part of the story. That's the magic, that's the secret sauce. You're not just a tourist watching from the sidelines, you're actually continuing the legend. All right, so maybe after hearing all this, you're thinking, hey, I want to go. And you totally should. But trust me, a little bit of planning will make your visit 1,000 times better. So let's get into some real practical advice to help you do it right. First up, let's talk about the cost. Now, the alley itself is just a public street, so walking through is totally free. But it's definitely surrounded by its own little economy. You'll have photographers offering to take that perfect shot for you, souvenir stands, and these wonderful traditional musicians called estudiantinas playing nearby. They'll definitely appreciate a tip. It's all completely optional, of course, but it's just good to know what to expect when you get there. Okay, listen up, because this is probably the single most important piece of advice you're going to get. It comes from a local guide, Maria Gonzalez, and she puts it perfectly. If you want that quiet, magical, personal moment, go on a Tuesday or Wednesday before 9 a.m. If you show up on a weekend afternoon, you're going to be standing in a queue. Seriously, that's the difference between an amazing memory and a super frustrating half hour.
So let's just break down the number one mistake people make: the midday rush. You visit between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., especially on a weekend, and you could be waiting for 30, even 45 minutes, just shuffling forward. That romantic moment? It's gonna feel rushed with 100 people watching. The better approach is so simple: just don't do that. Arrive before 9 in the morning or swing by after 5 p.m. Beat the crowds.
All right, mistake number 2, overplanning your time here. From the photos, you might think this is some huge area, but it's really not. The alley is tiny. We're talking maybe 20 meters long. So many people block out 2 or 3 hours for it, and then they're just stuck trying to kill time. Honestly, you only need 30 to 45 minutes max. That's plenty of time to get your photos, soak in the atmosphere, and then move on to the next cool thing, like the people of the monument.
And this brings us to what I think is the biggest mistake of all: just taking the picture and leaving. You'd be missing the whole context, the why. The real story isn't just the legend of the kiss, it's written in the walls of the city itself. This alley wasn't just built this way on a whim. It's the perfect example of how Guanajuato's crazy geography and its silver mining history literally squeezed the city together.
And that's where we get to the really good stuff, beyond just the practical travel tips. Because this place isn't just a love story, and it's not just a spot on a map. It's really a reflection of the entire city's soul. Here's the thing you have to get. The legend of Carmen and Luis could only have happened in a place like Guanajuato. The entire city is basically crammed into this narrow mountain gorge. Back in the day, when the wealthy silver miners were building their grand houses, they just built on any patch of flat ground they could find. The result is this beautiful, chaotic maze of streets and alleys where houses are literally piled on top of each other. And yeah, that's how you end up with balconies that are just centimeters apart, the perfect stage for a secret romance. And if you look at it that way, the story becomes so much more powerful. Yeah, on the surface, it's a tragedy, a sad story about doomed love. But what is it really about? It's about defiance. It's about two people who chose their own love over rigid social rules, over class barriers, over what their parents told them to do. It's a story of rebellion, and that's something that resonates with pretty much anyone who's ever had to fight for who they love.
And that, right there, is the real power of the tradition today. Think about it. Every single couple that stands on that third step and shares a kiss, they're kind of rewriting the ending. Symbolically, they're giving Carmen and Luis the happy ending they were denied. They're turning this one personal tragedy into this big collective expression of hope.
So that brings us back to where we started. Are those 7 years of happiness just a silly superstition, or is there more to it? Is the simple act of showing up, of standing in that spot and sharing that kiss, is it actually a powerful ritual that not only keeps a legend alive, but transforms a story of tragedy into a story of hope, one couple, one kiss at a time?